All right, guys. So welcome in to a live edition of Ravens Reports. We just got news that the Baltimore Ravens have officially traded for Panthers wide receiver one, Diontae Johnson. This is a really exciting move for the Baltimore Ravens because Diontae Johnson isn't just some scrub number 3 type receiver. He's a legit starting wide receiver. And he's done a lot of damage to the Baltimore Ravens over the years as a Pittsburgh Steeler. The Ravens have gotten an up close and personal look at what Diontae Johnson can do at the wide receiver position. And let me just tell you this, man, I'm fired up about this move because it gives you so much more flexibility in the personnel groupings. I think the Ravens were searching for just a little bit more in their 11 personnel department, because now in 11 personnel, when you could trot out 3 wide receivers on the field, you have 3 guys that can absolutely kill you. And Diontae Johnson, who can win man-to-man, Zay Flowers, who can win man-to-man, and Rashad Bateman, who can win man-to-man. Plus, if you want to go empty and you want to trot out 4 or 5 receivers out there on the field, you have more options, more depth. And we talked about this before, man. Hear me out for a second. We said, hey, if Rashad Bateman goes down and it's Zay Flowers as wide receiver 1 and Nelly as wide receiver 2, how are you feeling about that? And then Tylan Wallace at 3, right? Or we said, if God forbid Zay Flowers were to go down, how would you feel about Rashad Bateman being wide receiver 1 and then Nelson Aguilar being wide receiver 2 in that case? We got a little bit of a scare with that, of what that could look like whenever Zay Flowers, tweaked his ankle last week. And we were like, whoa, suddenly Bateman's number 1 and Nelly's number 2. And it wasn't a great position to be in as far as top tier wide receiver talent in a depth situation. But now the Baltimore Ravens have legit depth. Not only do they have depth, but they have a bona fide starting wide receiver that's going to trot out there and get a lot of playing time next to guys like Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. Man, this is going to be a very fun trio at the wide receiver position, man. Thanks for everyone coming out for the live stream. We tried to hop on here as soon as possible. We got some love in the comments. Kenny says EDC is cooking. Jeff Smith says, love you, Noah. The beautiful thing about this trade, I love you too, bro. The beautiful thing about this trade is we did not give up much. It was a high upside, low downside type of move because we had to pay $3.9 million of the salary. So literally $3.9 million, you get a starting wide receiver on your team. I'm not going to go out and say like bona fide star wide receiver or like true number 1 receiver, but this is a guy who can carry a workload as a number 1 or number 2 option in a passing offense, a guy that's really, really talented. And he's really good at separation. That's his strength. He has had issues with hands at times with dumb drops, which we're kind of accustomed to here in Baltimore. We saw the drops that we had last week between the DBs and the receivers. But Nelson Aguilar is the guy that's had dumb drops as well. But Diontae Johnson is a guy that can separate downfield. He can be a vertical threat, but he's also elite in the NFL in separation. I want you guys to check out the numbers real quick here. Let's go see if we can go ahead and share the screen. So Diontae Johnson, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Again, thanks for everyone coming out, man. Big news. Baltimore Ravens just traded for wide receiver Diontae Johnson. So rookie season, 3rd round pick, Pittsburgh, 680 yards. Next year, he'd go on to have big seasons, 923 and 1161. So this is a guy that can produce 1,000 yards as a receiver. He's only 28 years old, by the way, and he's a free agent next year. So there's no long-term implications of this trade. Like we said, this is a high upside, zero downside type of move because you only add $3.9 million of salary cap to this year's cap. And then, you swap a 5th and a 6th round pick, a 5th for a 6th. You know what I'm saying? So we really didn't give up much draft capital. We have 11 draft picks next year, and we just swapped picks, and we still have the same amount of picks for next year's draft. So we didn't give up much. We take on $3.9 million of salary cap. Great move by Eric DeCosta to add another weapon for Lamar Jackson. Man, this might be the best trio of pass catchers Lamar Jackson's ever had. This is the year that the Ravens are going all out to win a Super Bowl. Diontae Johnson, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. The weapons are everywhere. Now, Will the Ravens make a move on defense? Remains to be seen. I see a lot of guys. We'll get into that in a little bit. Let's get back into the stats. So 1,160 yards in 2021, 882 in 2022, 717 in 2023. He's been a constant 700 to 1,000 yard type of receiver every single year. And this year with the Carolina Panthers, he's averaging 11.9 yards a catch, 3 touchdowns, 357 yards through 7 games, by the way. So he's averaging about 50 yards per game. He's got 3 touchdowns. This guy can still play football at a high level. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Yep, we're going to have a lot of people talk about how we still need a pass rusher. What's up, Maisha? Hopefully I didn't mess up your name too much. Grekin, bro. By the way, this comment right here gets me a little intrigued. It's clear 99 ain't who Ravens thought he would be. People are concerned about the pass rush. By the way, I think Odafe Owe has 5 sacks through the season, and he's top 30 among all edge rushers and pressures produced. But guys are calling for Azeez Ojulari. By the way, Odafe Owe has more pressures and about the same amount of sacks as Ojulari, and has a higher PFF grade. So I'm not seeing the hype and the buzz about that. If the Ravens are going to go and grab a pass rusher or a defender, I think it's got to be someone a little bit more significant than a guy like Azeez Ojulari. That's just my opinion. Bear Arm says Chiefs got outside linebacker Uche. Yeah, I'm not impressed with that move. I don't think he moves the needle much with their pass rush. I think that was more of a move because they had one of their outside linebackers, I think it was Mike Dana, go down with injury, and I think they wanted to add some more depth there with Uche. Uche hasn't been the same since his 2022 season, so I'm not too worried about that move. Maisha says, let's go Ravens, keep the faith, guys. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Much appreciated, and I think the Ravens are going to be good, man. I know, we had the terrible loss against the Browns. You catch a few of those picks and we're sitting here celebrating. We're on our high horse. We're 6-2. Now we're getting some more weapons with Diontae Johnson. It's a whole different narrative. The Ravens defense is going to improve. It's in their DNA. They have too much talent. I know it looks ugly right now, but you got to keep the faith, like Maisha says here. So thank you for the super chat. Gerald says, what's up, Noah? Alan says, we need someone to help Nnamdi get home, and Owe interior is the way. I'd love to get Crosby on the line. Crosby would be amazing. I'd be happy about another interior pass rusher type of guy as well. But I'm still keeping my eye on a Budda Baker and maybe a outside linebacker, Zadarius Smith. I'm not trying to be picky here, but I do think that you don't want to waste this opportunity that you have in front of you, which is the best dual threat quarterback in NFL history in Lamar Jackson, with one of the best running backs of all time, the leading rusher, and Derrick Henry right now. You don't want to waste this opportunity with this. Like, you don't know if we'll ever see this again. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think in years from now, we'll look back at this and be like, whoa, we really had Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry in the same backfield, man. Do you guys remember that? Right. And I don't want to waste this opportunity. So to say that the Ravens should still go out and make another move, I don't think is over exaggerating because of the caliber of offense we have right now. Another move to help the defense would be phenomenal. I would love to have Zadarius Smith, Budda Baker. Obviously, Max Crosby would be like a crazy, crazy move, but I don't think he's going anywhere. So Wally asks, how does that trade help us? It makes our offense more complete. Like we were saying, if Rashad Bateman or Zay Flowers were to go down, Nelson Aguilar, it would be wide receiver 2. You now have 3 bona fide, legit starting caliber wide receivers that can beat you. This also gives you more flexibility in your personnel groupings if you want to run more 11 personnel to widen things out to give Derrick Henry more space. So this does a lot more than what people are saying right off the rip. I'm not trying to be smart, but you're asking me how it helps. It helps out a lot. And the more weapons you have, the better. You can never have enough weapons. Um, I really like this move to add Deontay Johnson, especially because it didn't cost you anything. You swapped a pick. You swapped a fifth round pick to get a six in return, which really doesn't make a lot of difference. And then you only had to pick up $3.9 million in cap space. A genius move by Eric DaCosta. He continues to make very smart moves, and he continues to be aggressive at the trade deadline. And would I be surprised if the Ravens made another move? No, I would not be surprised at all. Um, am I expecting it? Not necessarily. And John Wayne says we need a cornerback, man. I don't think so. Yeah, would I be happy with a corner? Sure. Brendan Stevens is talented. Marlon Humphrey is having the best year in many years. He's having an all-pro type of season. I know that may be contested from what other fans are saying, but if you really study the tape and the separation that he's allowing, he's also leading the NFL in interceptions as a corner. 4 interceptions this season. He's tight in coverage. He's popping guys. Marlon Humphrey's having a career year. Nate Wiggins is coming back. Missed the last game with illness. So Brendan Stevens, Marlon Humphrey, Arthur Marlette, Nate Wiggins is a very talented cornerback room. We don't necessarily need a corner. If anything, I think we need some more juice on the pass rush side of things, but still very smart for Eric DaCosta within the last few weeks to add Yannick Ngakoue, who's added a little bit of juice as a pass rusher. And then on the offensive side of the football, go ahead and add Diontae Johnson, another weapons, 2 premier positions, adding depth. That's how you build a Super Bowl type of roster. You see all around the league, guys are going down with injury. You're seeing Stephon Diggs just tore his ACL. You saw Rashee Rice tore his ACL. So star number 1 wide receivers go down. Adding a Diontae Johnson adds insurance, and it adds more flexibility in 11 personnel packages. I think this is a awesome move. Plus, Tyler says right here, he's speaking the truth, that we getting Keaton back in a week or two. If you guys haven't seen, Keaton Mitchell has been activated, not officially activated, but he's been brought back to practice for the 21-day window activation. So he has to come back within 21 days or he's out for the year. So obviously they expect him back here soon. He's been practicing for a week. Keaton Mitchell, Diontae Johnson getting added into the fold that already had Derrick Henry, Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman going for 100 yards and a touchdown last week. I love it, man. This might be the best offense we've ever had in Baltimore Ravens franchise history. RJ Joyner says Brandon Stevens is garbage juice, and I could not disagree more. I think Brandon Stevens is a very talented corner, and you're going to see that next year when he's a free agent, how much he gets paid out there on the market. W Trade says Sweet Potato. Yeah, guys, I really like this move. Let's go back to a couple of things I want to show you on here. Let's go ahead and share the screen. Let's go to Can you guys still hear me? We good? All right, sorry about that. A little technical difficulty. Um, so yeah, Lamar Jackson gets another weapon. And the other weapon that's about to get injected into this thing is Keaton Mitchell. So I want you guys to picture this. We go into 11 personnel, and we have Zay Flowers in the slot. We got Diontae Johnson and Rashad Bateman on the outside. We got Derrick Henry in the backfield. We got Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely in line, lined up off the tackle. And then we have Keaton Mitchell and or Derrick Henry in the backfield. It's absurd. Thanks for the super chat. He says, why was Clowney not included? From Kobe Bryant here. I was thinking about this, how much I would like to see a Jadeveon Clowney reunion, but there was two things here. Okay, the first one was I think that Jadeveon Clowney specifically left Baltimore last year, not because he didn't want to come back. The Ravens wanted to bring him back, but because he wanted to go back to where he was from, close to South Carolina, to play in the Carolinas with the Carolina Panthers. So I think he wanted to be closer to home. I don't think he wanted to move back to Baltimore. That's specifically why he didn't re-sign in the offseason. That's why he went to Carolina to begin with. Another thing is I think part of it was Jadeveon Clowney had a good year last year, but a lot of it was Mike McDonald's scheme. And, he was getting guys in the right position to constantly get after the quarterback. I mean, Kyle Van Noy had a career year. Jadeveon Clowney had a career year. Nnamdi Madubuike had a career year. So, yeah, I think that's why we weren't super interested in Clowney. I don't think he wanted to come here because not that he didn't want to stay here after he left in free agency. He wanted to go back to Carolina because of family. Yeah. Reunite Mac with Rowe. Hey, man, I would not be upset if the Baltimore Ravens brought in Khalil Mack. The only issue right now is if you would bring in a pass rusher, like who gets benched? Because Odafe Owe, I know there's some hatred on Odafe Owe, but he has 5 sacks, and he's top 29 among all edge rushers in pressures produced. And Kyle Van Noy has 7 sacks, so you don't want to necessarily bench those guys. And then you just saw some juice from Yannick Ngakoue, and you still have some young talent that you want to develop and get some reps in Adisa Isaac and David Ojabo. I'm not done with David Ojabo, bro. I want to see David Ojabo get more reps. And Ravens win 16 says the same thing that I'm thinking here, man. So, bro, I would love to see David Ojabo get some more reps. I'd love to see Yannick Ngakoue continue to see what he can do. I'm not saying that the pass rush is like fine, but it's not like they don't have talent. Kyle Van Noy, Owe, Madubuike, and don't forget that Travis Jones was a little bit banged up, but he was doing some really good things throughout the first few weeks as a pass rusher as well. All right. Yeah, Sweet Potato 17 makes a good point here. Says, bro, his Steelers revenge game is going to go crazy. It's going to be fun. Let's go back to a few things I wanted to see here. Try to share my screen with you guys again without having it black out. All right. All right, so this was the separation chart that I was trying to show you guys before I had that little technical difficulty. Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, and Diontae Johnson are all among the league's best in pure separation. This is the chart here. So this is from Jonas Schaefer, the compensation like we talked about. The Ravens have traded a 5th-round pick for wide receiver Diontae Johnson, and they got the 6th-round pick back. And the Ravens are going to get that 5th-round comp pick back probably anyways, so it's not like they really lost much, and they only had to pay $3.9 million. Spencer Schultz makes it clear here the Ravens owe Diontae Johnson approximately $3.9 million in salary for the rest of the season. So it's absolutely possible the Ravens could not be done. with the trade deadline. You know what I'm saying? This could just be one of the moves, but we'll see. The Ravens like to make smart moves. Like this was a smart move because it didn't cost much. That's why I'm saying there could definitely be something on the way, because of you only had to pay $3.9 million and you only gave up a 5th round pick, but not even really because you got a 6th round pick back. So yeah. And Paul kind of says it here. Ravens just need a good pass rusher, and we're good. Robbie says still need a defensive trade. So Kawasi asked a question here that we'll kind of do a little bit of a effort to address. He says, I'm confused. The defense looked atrocious against the Browns. Why are we acquiring offensive players? So a few things here. I want to give you some perspective to kind of maybe walk you back from the edge a little bit. That first of all, the defensive performance that we saw on Sunday wasn't as bad as it looked. Let me tell you why. First of all, the Ravens were out 2 really talented, starting corners, and Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey. And they benched Marcus Williams due to an internal disciplinary issue or whatever. So you had, a huge part of your secondary out. Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, and Marcus Williams. Not only did you have a huge part of your secondary out, but you also had, I'll get to you in a second there, Purple Haze. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. So not only did you have a huge part of your secondary out, then you also dropped like 3 or 4 or 5 interceptions. And if they don't score, if Kyle Hamilton just simply makes that one pick at the end of the game that hit him right in the chest, I mean, you're not talking about a terrible, terrible defensive performance. You're talking about, hey, we were out a couple of guys and we gave up a little bit more points than we thought. But then Eddie Jackson, he dropped a few picks as well. So if we make just 2 of those picks out of 5, you're not even having this conversation about how the defense was so bad. And then if we had Marlon Humphrey or Nate Wiggins or Marcus Williams back in the starting lineup, so that's part of the thoughts there. And again, I don't think that the defensive issues are so much talent as it is scheme and communication. And I know we're 8 weeks in and we're still having this conversation, but you can't tell me that Roquan Smith, who has been an All-Pro every year, just fell off a cliff. You can't tell me that, Nnamdi Badabike, who was an All-Pro defensive tackle, Kyle Hamilton, who's an All-Pro safety. You can't tell me that these guys are just all magically washed this year. Like, you still have a lot of talent and they need to figure stuff out. But I don't think the defense is as much of a talent issue as it is scheme and communication. Shout out to Purple Haze. He says, Ravens, stop messing around and get Reddick in Badger. So I think Honey Badger, right? You're talking about Tyrann Mathieu. It's funny because I saw a clip of him getting hit in the chest with a dropped interception with the Saints this year. And someone said, hey, he would fit right in here with the Ravens because we don't catch interceptions either. But no, I would be happy with Mathieu. I'd be happy with Budda Baker to add some juice in the secondary. Sometimes, like, just adding a little piece back there, you see what it could do. Like, whenever the Ravens traded for Roquan Smith, it wasn't just the impact of Roquan Smith. It like sent ripples all throughout the defense and everyone elevated their game. And I think you're seeing that some of that impact with Derrick Henry this year. You added Derrick Henry, and all of a sudden Lamar is having one of his best statistical passing seasons. You're seeing, the offensive line create some holes for him because, hey, we got Derrick Henry in the backfield. You know what I'm saying? You're seeing the wide receivers with their separation. It wasn't like it was simply Derrick Henry's production, but the simple presence of him being on the field has a ripple effect and sends waves all throughout that side of the football. That's what Roquan Smith did. But yeah, Hassan Reddick would be awesome, but obviously I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think the Ravens are going to want to deal with that after what happened in the offseason with the whole contract situation and everything. Orlando says improvement is improvement, man. If you guys are just checking in to the live stream, I just want to tell you that this is a lot bigger move than you think it is, because it opens up a lot of options for 11 personnel to get 3 wide receivers on the field. In those packages, Nelson Aguilar was the guy a lot of times. And I think Nelson Aguilar is probably going to have his biggest dip. He's probably going to feel the biggest impact of this trade, because when you have 3 wide receivers on the field, I think it's going to be Bateman, Zay Flowers, Diontae Johnson. Those are 3 guys that can hurt you, that can separate on every part of the field. They can make guys miss after the catch. And like we showed you with that chart, they can all separate. It also just provides insurance and depth. If Zay Flowers or Bateman were to go down, Nelson Aguilar and Tylan Wallace would have been wide receiver 2 and 3. That's just not up to par as far as the type of talent and depth you have in that room. Diontae Johnson adds that. This is a guy that's had 1,100 yards in a season. He basically goes for 800 every year, no matter who he's playing for. He's even produced in this terrible Panthers offense with a mixture of quarterbacks with Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. Diontae Johnson can play football, man. Let's take another look here. This was a report. The Athletics, Jacob Robinson and Diana Rossini suggest that Arizona Cardinals Budda Baker as a potential trade target for Baltimore. This was from the Athletic. This was earlier in the day. However, would the Cardinals be willing to part ways with him, because they're still kind of, in their division? They just won against the Dolphins. So I don't know if they would want to throw in the towel quite yet. But there's still a few more days in the trade deadline. I think it's November 5th. Again, here's the chart for the separation. Diontae Johnson, Zay Flowers, and Bateman among the best in the NFL. Some stats or some highlights here that I don't really want to get flagged for by the NFL, but Diontae Johnson can separate. He can make plays, man. Again, let's look at the stats real quick. All right. Man, we got 1,000 in here right now. I appreciate you guys. Hashal says, "Hey, Noah, love the content. Thank you." Eddie Jackson was a poor acquisition. That was one of those signings you take a swing on. It didn't work out. Let's go Flock from Italy. Shout out, man. Thanks for tuning in all the way from Italy. Love this move. Diontae is an excellent route runner. This is true. Diontae separates. He separates. He gets open. And yeah, great move. Adds a lot of flexibility in 11 personnel. And then he says, don't stop there. Keep going with the trades. It's very possible. This is the NFL is unique in the fact that they're starting to shift towards some of the trade heavy format, other leagues like the MLB and the NBA, where, trades, they just happen. Team can make more than one trade. We saw it actually happen with the Chiefs this year. They made 2 trades with outside linebacker Josh Uche, and then they added the other receiver. I can't even remember who it was. How are his hands in the sun? Bro, I feel for Bate, man, because he's coming off that big game, 115 yards and a touchdown. And he had a nice catch over the middle of the field, nice slant. And then you see a little bit later, Lamar scrambles out. Bateman did everything right, got open, a ton of separation, is literally like about to catch a punt. Like it was right there coming. And I believe him that it got caught in the sun, because it straight up hit him in the face. Like he didn't see it. He said he was tracking the ball and all of a sudden he couldn't see it. And I don't know if you got, I played baseball in high school and stuff. And I remember there was times where I'm tracking a fly ball and all of a sudden it goes right there in the sun and you lose it, man. There's nothing you can do about that. So I'm not down on Bateman because of that. It sucked to watch, because we're about to throw a 60-yard bomb on 3rd and 14 or whatever. Slim, he's got it, man. He says, for the record, I'm a Bateman apologist. That's my guy. I love Bateman too, man. Ravens Dog says Diontae is an excellent route runner. He gets open. Buda Baker and Zadarius Smith. Says Gabe, these are my two top guys. If the Ravens were to make another move, I'd love to see one of these guys. Again, people talking about Azeez Ojulari. I don't get it because Odafe Owe has more pressures, similar amount of sacks, a higher PFF grade. Kyle Van Noy's playing good football. Unique Ngakoue got a sack last week and is doing well, as well. So, or he says, or Honey Badger. So, yeah, I think we just need to make the defense more simple and stop overthinking it. I get we want to like disguise stuff and be sneaky, but maybe we just say, hey, we're really talented. We like our secondary. We like Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey and Brandon Stevens, and we like Kyle Hamilton, and we like Roquan Smith and Matabike, and we like Owe and Van Noy. We think we got guys that we could just line up against you and play more simple, play man, play some basic zones. You don't always have to get so cute with the sim pressures and the sim blitzes and everything like that. There's a time and place for those things, but I think Zach Orr is wanting to maybe overthink it, do a little bit too much, and sometimes it's bitten us in the back. So maybe that kind of answers the question about Noah is or the issue. I think it's a mixture of you got to catch interceptions and you got to put your guys in the right position and you got to communicate. Yeah. Shout out to JB3 for the super chat. Appreciate you. Hey, I talked about this. This guy says, Winston a beast. What I said to some friends, I didn't get a chance to do a video because I was away for the weekend for the drill, but I didn't get to do the Browns preview. But I said, hey, man, my fear is that when you get a backup quarterback coming in and the teammates, the coaches, they really like him. They like that guy. And I love Jameis Winston myself, so I didn't want to see him start because I want to root for Jameis Winston. I love him as a person and like how gritty he is, his faith, all that stuff. So I didn't want to have to root against Jameis. But I know if I like him, man, all the guys in the locker room are rallying around Jameis like, bro, we got your back. And it was just one of those weeks where you're hoping that they don't all rally around their guy and, put in a little bit extra on each one of these plays. And that's kind of what happened. Another question here. Breezy asked, Noah, what do you think is the Ravens' next move before the deadline? I don't know if they'll make another move, but the fact is they definitely can because they didn't give up much capital. They swapped a 5th for a 6th-round pick. They only had to pay $3.9 million in cap. That would be the big thing is they would probably have to make some cap restructures to make something else work, depending on who it is. I'd love to see Buda Baker or Zadarius Smith or Tyrann Mathieu, something like that. The greatness here, 5 drop picks is inexcusable. You can't blame Zach Orr for this part. Like, if they make those interceptions, the Browns probably score, 14 points or so, and we come away with a comfortable win, and you're not talking about Zach Orr being fired at this point. Even though it's not all pretty, it wouldn't have been as bad as what it's showing here. Again, let's go to some stats for Diontae Johnson. This season, he's had some up games, some down games. But again, keep in mind, Diontae Johnson has been in the Panthers offense that's been very atrocious, one of the worst in the league. First 2 games, not much. 19 and 15 yards. I think Andy Dalton came in after that. He goes 122 yards and a touchdown with some competent quarterback play. The next week, he goes 83 yards and a touchdown against the Bengals. So shout out to Diontae Johnson because he'll get a chance to play the Bengals again and hopefully can have a similar stat line, 83 yards and a tutty. He had a long of 39, by the way, in that game. So he got open behind the Bengals secondary. He goes 23 yards against the Bears, 78 yards and a touchdown a few weeks ago against the Falcons, and then 17 yards on 1 catch against the Commanders where they got blown out. And then I don't think he played. He did not play on Sunday. So, yeah, Diontae is a Baltimore Raven. Shout out to Harold for the super chat, man. I appreciate you, man. This is like, you guys are awesome, showing love. Is Keaton going to play in Sunday? Hey, bro, you never know. Keaton Mitchell could be back. He very well could be back. Let's take a look if there's anything else on Twitter that we can check out here. Jeff Zarebeck. So a lot of people asking about questions. We're just going to kind of go live here and kind of scroll through some of the storylines here on X. Jeff Zarebeck says the challenge of making more moves for the Ravens is more about cap space, is what we were talking about, and roster flexibility than draft capital. Sure, the team hates trading picks, but after this trade, they still have 11 potential picks in the 25 draft, assuming they get 4 comp picks they are projected. So yeah, the picks isn't the issue here. The picks is more so, or I'm sorry, the issue is more so cap space. The Ravens are kind of tight on cap. So yeah. He says get rid of Nelson, let them young boys cook. Yeah, like we said, I think this move has the biggest impact on Nelson Aguilar probably not getting as much playing time he is. Cole Jackson says, trade for Max Crosby, you cowards. Jeff Strebeck says the impetus behind the deal to get Diontae Johnson was improving their wide receiver depth. Ravens have been thin there all year, but Johnson does have some return experience as well. And Ravens have gotten nothing from the return game all year. It could be an option to help in that area. So an option to help in the return game. Another wide receiver on 3 wide receiver packages and 11 personnel, and more depth if Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman were to go down. Spencer Schultz says they have 3 of the most elite separators in the league. There's going to be guys getting open for Lamar Jackson. Adam Schefter laying down the truth here. The Baltimore Ravens offense, MVP, 2-time MVP, about to be 3-time MVP. Quarterback, about to be 3-time MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, Lamar Jackson at quarterback. And then one of the best running backs in NFL history, who's going to lead the NFL in rushing yards and touchdowns this year, as he already is, running back Derrick Henry, running back Justice Hill. Oh, and by the way, he forgot about absolute lightning in a bottle that's going to be returning within the next week or two in Keaton Mitchell. Wide receiver Diontae Johnson, wide receiver Zay Flowers. By the way, Zay Flowers is on track for a possible Pro Bowl type of season. He's 11th in the NFL in yards and one of the best in yards after catch. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Mark Andrews, and Isaiah Likely. There he goes. He says running back Keaton Mitchell will also soon be returning from IR. Adam Schefter, the original tweet that had us hop here on the live stream. Carolina is sending wide receiver Diontae Johnson to the Baltimore Ravens. Here's just a little bit of a visual here. Man, is that Purdy? This is the best, man. Eric DaCosta was not messing around when it comes to getting Lamar Jackson weapons this year. Derrick Henry, Diontae Johnson, Zay Flowers. These are all guys that can hurt you, man. And the Ravens already have the best offense in the NFL. And they add more. They add more depth. They add more weapons for Lamar Jackson, guys that can separate, guys that can get open. Man, that's beautiful to see because there were some years where Willie Snead was wide receiver 1. There was years where we were signing 36-year-old Deshaun Jackson off the street, expecting him to be wide receiver 1. There was years where Miles Boykin was like wide receiver 1 or 2. You know, there was a year where we had our best wide receiver was Marquise Brown as a rookie coming off an injury. You know what I'm saying? So to see Lamar Jackson with these type of weapons now is another reason why he's about to be a 3rd-time MVP. But this is also why you're seeing him have the best passing stats of his career. By the way, let's just take a look, guys. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what Lamar Jackson's doing as a passer this year. All right? You guys need to see this because the dude's about to win a 3rd MVP. It's not even up for debate right now. The way the trajectory that he's on, man. So your top 5 passers in the NFL in front of Joe Burrow, who's in a pass-first offense, who has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and a good offensive line. Lamar Jackson is 5th in the NFL in passing yards. By the way, he has 2,099 passing yards on 30 less attempts than Joe Burrow. 30 less attempts, and he still has more passing yards. Like, he's a better passer than most quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's the best, most athletic quarterback in NFL history. So he's 5th in the NFL in passing yards right now. I hope you guys can see these stats. Yeah, you guys can see him. Shout out to Nikita for the super chat, man. I appreciate you. He says, optimistic. We trending towards glory. Thank God. You guys know I'm a big faith guy. Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and I'm unashamed of that. So shout out to Nikita for the super chat here. Hopefully we didn't miss this one. Did we miss this one? Andres. Hey, Noah, I love your content. I never fail to catch a video from one service member to another. Thank you for everything you do. Go Flock, man. Hey, I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you for your service, and thank you for being being in the For the Flock family. You guys are showing the love, and I feel it tonight. I appreciate it. This was an impromptu live, so you guys are awesome. Appreciate you guys. But check this out. Lamar Jackson, 5th in the NFL in passing yards, okay, despite having less attempts than guys like Joe Burrow. All right. Now, when it comes to passing touchdowns, Lamar Jackson is 2nd in the NFL with the best ratio. So the number one passer in passing touchdowns is Baker, but he's got 9 picks. Lamar Jackson only has 3 or 4 less touchdowns, but he has 7 less interceptions. He's also only taken 12 sacks. So check this out. When it comes to sacks taken, Lamar Jackson is 24th in the NFL. That's really good stuff, despite not always having great protection. When it comes to QBR, Lamar Jackson is 2nd in the NFL. When it comes to passer rating, Lamar Jackson is 1st in the NFL. So long gone is all the people that can say Lamar Jackson can't throw a football, because now you're seeing what it looks like with Todd Monken, a competent passing type of coordinator, a guy that can implement a comprehensive passing attack. You're seeing what that looks like, because for 5 years, Lamar Jackson had Greg Roman, and now you're seeing what that looks like in Justin Herbert, who has his lowest passing numbers in his career with Greg Roman. All those people saying Lamar can't throw a football are just simply wrong, according to logic, according to stats, according to all 22 football analysis, according to peers across the league, according to former NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Yeah, man. Should have kept Clowney. Clowney he likes being a Baltimore Raven, but he wanted to go back to Carolina because that's where home was. So that's why Clowney's not here. It has nothing to do with us not wanting him and him not wanting us. He just wanted to go home. And he's towards the end of his career and wanted to be closer to home as he got closer to retirement. Gene says EDC is not done yet. Like we were talking about, it's not compensation as far as picks that are an issue, because the Ravens are projected to have 11 picks next season, and the Ravens are they swapped a 5th and a 6th. It's just the fact that they have the money. Do they have enough salary cap? That's going to be the issue. But they did only have to pay $3.9 million to make this move happen, to bring in Diontae Johnson as some more depth and another weapon for Lamar Jackson. Dwayne says, now that we got Johnson, Bateman better step his game way up. Bateman's having a great year. The only, last week was his only bad game. He had a drop on 3rd down, and he had the drop where the ball got caught in the sun and hit him in the face. That was embarrassing. But Bateman's on track for 897 yards this season, which is obviously would be a career high for him. This would be beautiful. If we brought in Zadarius Smith, I would be through the roof. This is probably one of my top targets right now. I'd absolutely love to see Zadarius Smith, Buda Baker, Tyrann Mathieu brought in. But specifically, I'd like to see Zadarius Smith. Another thing I would really like to see is Bo Braid get some action. Darius Washington played pretty well, and he has played well whenever he's gotten a chance. I think he dropped an interception last week, but I like to see Bo Braid get a shot. I know Harbaugh's kind of iffy on starting rookies. He likes his vets, but that's kind of an old school mentality. Like, hey, you got to earn your way on the field. You got to practice. And then if there's an injury, then you get your shot. Like, no, man, let's see what the guy's got, like, let's not be afraid to start a young guy. Zadarius Smith would be the biggest question. With Zadarius Smith is how much would it cost? So let's do a quick little Google search, guys. Bear with me. Let's do a little Google search on how much Zadarius Smith would cost and what his base salary is. So, it doesn't look like it would cost much because he has a really low base salary because he got a bonus. Yeah, so his base salary is only $1.2 million while carrying a cap hit of $5.2 million. And obviously that would be prorated because we have already played 8 weeks through. So I don't think it would cost much for the Ravens to bring in Zadarius Smith. The question is, would the Browns be willing? Would the Browns be willing to make a, divisional trade? Obviously they made a trade with the Buffalo Bills. That's a conference trade, but would they be willing to go, and trade with a divisional rival? That's a big question mark. Plus, there's other teams that need a pass rusher, like the Detroit Lions, trying to make a push for one of these guys. So then you can get into a bidding war with compensation, like as far as picks. But bro, I'd be willing to give up a fourth, maybe even a third round pick to bring in Zadarius Smith. I mean, bro, you could win the Super Bowl this year. Like, you could absolutely win the Super Bowl this year. You don't know if you'll ever see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson performing like this again. It's like a one in a lifetime opportunity. Like I said earlier in the live stream, I think we're going to look back and say, whoa, we had the best dual threat quarterback in NFL history and one of the best running backs in NFL history in the same backfield that year. We can't let that go, man. We can't. Hey, Purple Haze says Diggs tore his ACL. Sad to hear that. And this is why this trade, people saying, bro, I don't understand why this trade does anything. It says this is a dumb trade. First of all, it doesn't cost you anything. It costs you $3.9 million, and you swapped a pick, fifth for a sixth. But what if Zay or Bateman were to go down with injury? You need to have depth. Like, Diontae Johnson's a capable wide receiver that you could still, if you had like Diontae Johnson and Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Derrick Henry, you could still win a Super Bowl, even without Zay. If Bateman were to go down, and you had Zay Flowers, Diontae Johnson, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Derrick Henry, could still win a Super Bowl. But if Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman were to go down, and you didn't have Diontae Johnson, and Nelson Aguilar was wide receiver 2 in a big-time moment on fourth down in an AFC championship or something like that, your odds of winning a Super Bowl are much slimmer, in my opinion. I think Diontae Johnson provides more options in 11 personnel to get 3 really good receivers on the field that can separate. And I think it also provides insurance and depth if something were to happen like this. Seeing Diggs tear his ACL is really not fun to see injuries in football, but it is part of the game. Ricky Johnson says nobody with Lamar Jackson's athletic ability has ever won a Super Bowl. Here's the funny thing is no one in the NFL has ever had Lamar Jackson's ability. So like that kind of, I don't nobody in NFL history has been like Lamar Jackson. So nobody that has had his athletic ability has ever won a Super Bowl because nobody's ever had it. But there has been athletic quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls. You can look back at Russell Wilson. You could look back at Cam Newton, who he didn't win the Super Bowl, but he was right there with the opportunity to win the Super Bowl if he would have jumped on that fumble. And Lamar Jackson's better than Cam Newton. And Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is better than Russell Wilson as well. And not many guys are on Lamar Jackson's level right now with his just strict passing. That's what we were showing you guys with these stats right here. Lamar Jackson has the highest pass rating in the NFL. He's 5th in passing yards. He has the best passing touchdown to interception ratio, and he's number 2 in the NFL in QBR. All right, guys, let's see what else we got. Dana says, SCLSL. Can I get a shout out? I watch all the time. I rate the trade 10 out of 10. Yes, my friend, you can get a shout out. Thank you for being part of the For the Flock family. Thank you for coming into the live stream. I appreciate you. So shout out to my guy, SCSL. He likes the trade 10 out of 10. I agree because it's high upside, low downside. Like there's no downside to the trade. Cam says Vic could have won a ring if he never went to jail. That really derailed his career. That's facts. Mike says, hold on. Mike says, watching from work, brother. Wouldn't miss this video. I'm hyped at work right now. Good for you, bro. Shout out to Mike watching from work right now, making it happen, hopping in the live stream. Man, you guys are the reason why we do this, the love and the support. Oh, Samson makes a good point. We just got another Florida Raven. Just realized that. Lamar Jackson likes his Florida pass catchers. So, hey, shout out. Jose Rivera says, I heard the Saints are shopping Lattimore. Do you think we could go DB instead of a pass rusher? I think any addition to the defense would be great. Lattimore, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, and Stevens would be a heck of a 4-man trio or quad there in the secondary. That would be fun. So, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad at Budda Baker. I wouldn't be mad at Tyrann Mathieu. I wouldn't be mad at J.C. Horn. There's some other guys that I think could come in and bolster the secondary as well. Sunkiss says, on a late lunch break just in time for the live. Does Honey Badger still have some juice? I think he's still playing at a decent level. I don't know how well he is in coverage, but he can definitely pop some people. I don't know if you want him to be like a single high free roaming safety to cover a lot of ground. That was supposed to be Marcus Williams, but Marcus Williams isn't playing his best football right now. That remains to be seen what's going on with that. Yeah, guys. So thank you for everyone that came into the live stream. If you guys are just joining, the Ravens have traded. They gave a 5th-round pick to the Carolina Panthers and received Diontae Johnson, very productive, very talented wide receiver, and a 6th-round pick in exchange. And they got depth at wide receiver. They added another weapon for Lamar Jackson. I think this makes the Ravens offense borderline unstoppable. Of course, if they're not in their own way, but they got pass catchers. They got the best running back in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So shout out to the Ravens. This is a great move. Another great move by Eric DeCosta. So thanks for everyone for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed today's live stream. Comment down below. Also, shout out to everyone that came out during work, lunch break. Thanks to all the super chats and everything. Man, I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.